I know I couldn't find it for some, but now I found it, so it's just fine. There we go. And now I can see your faces and I can see my screen and we're good to go. Okay, cool. Um, okay. Today I wanted to talk about conversations to conversion. So, like I said in the all team meeting, we had an agent talk to us about how she was overhearing that new agents talking to clients wasn't quite getting the conversion. They would have good conversations with their people, right? But they weren't quite getting them to take the next step to give their information or set up an appointment or go see the home that they were calling about, things like that, right? So she had mentioned that maybe we need to have a conversation about changing your words and how you talk to people. Because as anybody who's been in the business for a long amount of time knows, your words matter and how you set up a scenario or talk to your clients changes your relationship with them, right? And anybody who's been to therapy knows words matter in all relationships, whether they're professional or personal, it doesn't matter. So my first question to everybody is what kind of magic words do you guys have that you use on a regular basis?
Good question.
We got to start with the good questions in the morning. Come on, I've had half a pot of coffee. Let's go.
How much are you approved for?
Uh, I mean, it's a good clarifying question, right?
Have
How
you
much are you
spoken to a
approved for?
lender?
Do you know what a lender does? I mean, all right. How many times have you guys talked to clients where they don't even know how to answer that question? What do you mean approved? What does
What
that mean?
I'm going to ask? What time describe the home you grew up in?
Mm,
Ooh, I like that one.
that's a good one, right? It plugs on that emotional piece of what home did you grow up in? Kind of get an idea of what they're thinking of what home should be.
Either one what like it or never one what like it.
Right.
Yeah, never.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh-huh. Ashley, how about you? Are there any special words you use?
I just always ask what their top five must-have items are. Always. I
Hmm.
mean, I really try to get them on the portal. I love watching their activity on there, so then I can kind of see what they're looking at. I don't know, it generates conversations. Yeah, I liked the wording that you guys used in the last meeting, and I used it on Saturday. I've used it before, but the imagine yourself sitting on this deck or overlooking the lake, imagine holding the fishing rod for your granddaughter, whatever.
Did it
Hmm.
work?
It pulled on their heartstrings. So I don't know. I
I
don't,
love it.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
My
just,
favorite two, by the
yep.
way, are going to be how does that make you feel? That's the first one, right?
Hmm.
And the second one is, can you tell me more about that?
Hmm. Why do you like those?
They're empathetic questions, and for somebody, it's not a surprise, right? I'm not a very empathy does not come naturally to Brandon, right? So I'm always working on this thing called tactical empathy, is what I call it, right? And trying to make sure that I'm creating a level space for people because the majority of people, right, in the U.S. In the world actually are on a nurturing basis, right? So a lot more people come at things with a much more empathetic approach. My personality type is such that there are very few of me in the U.S. and empathy is not our strength, and so trying to find a space to do that. And so a couple of those I really like are, is just trying to ask people like, well, how does that make you feel, right? Because it gives me the ability when I'm pretty good at body language because I spent a lot of time reading it, but the emotional component's always a little bit trickier, especially when you don't know somebody on a deeper level. Like then you can pull that out and you just let them tell you. You don't have to presume at that point, which is good. And then, can you tell me more about that? I find that a lot of people, me included, right? Like I will give you the answer, but it may just be the direct answer. And what's really helpful most of the time is the backstory behind that, right? Like, well,
Mhm.
so a practical application outside of personal relationships would be looking at, you sit down with somebody and they want you to come give them a valuation on their house, right? Well, why? What question I think we always ask is, well, what are you looking for from me? Like, what's prompting this thing, right? Well, we need to move. Cool. Can you tell me more about that? And then I just shut up. And then eventually they just start rolling and rolling and rolling. And that's when I learned, right? They're moving closer to kids. They're getting a divorce. So and so died. They don't even own the property. They want nothing to do with it, or whatever else. And so, can you tell me more about that phrase? Is one that I tend to use a lot. So
I think those are great things. I always get concerned about this agency stuff, starting out there before you get motivation and everything else. So where do you draw the line there?
Good question. Good question. So agency says that we have to have the conversation about agency law says we have to have the conversation about agency and who represents who if
Yeah.
anybody shares price terms or motivation, right? And
Yeah.
so if you're asking them, well, tell me more about that. And they start sharing motivation, but you haven't had the agency question or agency conversation yet, then yeah, that would trigger exactly that conversation, which is why I always say you should keep agency in your car or on your email or
Yeah.
someplace that's very easy, just so you can have the conversation. Because most clients don't understand who represents who and what your services are based on how everybody's represented.
Unless you can just explain to them, there's a Minnesota law that I'm just required to share with you before we go
Hmm.
much further. I don't know. It's just a chicken and egg thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And it's hard to go back into our law and our training that we got in school when we're in the middle of a conversation with somebody.
I know.
I'm terrible at about stopping people in the middle of a conversation to interrupt them, to tell them something, right? I'm very
Yeah.
bad at that. But agency is one of those where you should tell them right away. So, like Brandon has agency on his email, right? Or other agents do. Do you still, Brandon? I don't remember. Anyway,
I don't. It's
okay.
an email that goes out. Yep.
Yeah. So if you're in email communication with them, that agency is right there, right? Doesn't mean that they've clicked on it, doesn't mean that they looked at it. You still have to have the conversation. But that's definitely a trigger within the conversation. Hey, just so you know, you're at an open house. I represent the seller here because I don't have a contract with you. Um, so just keep that in mind that when you're talking to me, I can help you out, of course, but you are also talking to the seller. So please don't share with me price terms and motivation unless you would like to enter into a buyer's representation contract, then I can represent you as well. And then we can have more deeper conversations about what your wants and needs are and how I can help you. Has anybody had those conversations at open houses?
Not lately.
Not lately.
I had an open house. Nobody showed up. So.
Oh yeah,
Just
those are
talking to
fun.
yourself.
Those are fun. Um, yeah, those are all good ones. The whole point of having conversations and about learning different ways to say the same thing that elicits some kind of response from people is to change your world by getting you more business, right? By getting you better at what you do and changing the world of your clients, right? By putting it into perspective, by giving them multiple options instead of just one, right? By asking them to clarify whatever statement they're making. Well, I don't think real estate agents are worth what you say they're worth. Okay, that's interesting. Could you tell me what experience you've had with other real estate agents? Right? Change your words. Biggest thing is don't take it as an attack. That's where I feel people get on their heels is when they feel it's an attack, when your values being attacked across the table with somebody, right? You have an initial reaction that you want to defend yourself, defend yourself. Well, sometimes you don't need to. Sometimes the person across the table will defend for you if you ask the right questions. Okay. One of the biggest thing about words, and I love brain and how the brain works. So I'm going to nerd out just a little bit, but the brain is wired. So our lizard brain is wired for yes, no decisions. Yes or no. Like when we're in the gray area, when we're in the maybe, we are incredibly indecisive. We don't, and to the point where we fight, flight, or freeze, right? Because that's our lizard brain. So when you use your words, you want to try to get people to the yes or the no decision, right? Because being in that gray area doesn't always work. So the imagine then brings in the emotion, which is not our lizard brain. The imagine brings in our emotion and changes the conversation, changes their brain, their chemistry, their thinking into putting their emotions in it instead of their fight, flight, or freeze mode, right? The other big thing about words is that you have to anticipate objections. And we come across all of them all the time. And we talk about all of the objections we come across. So I can't afford that, or I don't want to go that low on my price, or I don't want to change my price because there might be somebody down the road, right? We deal with those objections all the time. But if you don't have words to combat those objections, you're never going to move things forward, right? And so we've all done that at certain points, and different words work for different people. So you have to not only anticipate the objections that your clients are going to come up with, but also understand that those clients are going to need guidance differently, even if it's the same objection, right? Does anybody listen to Hidden Brain? It's a podcast all about no, anybody? Well, if you get a chance, listen to it. It is very good, all about the brain and how the brain works and how it works within our social structures. It is super interesting. Like Brandon had said about his questions, right? Conversations start with questions. Tell me more about that. What makes you think that? Well, why did you sounded angry when you said that? Why did you say it that way? Did you have a bad experience? Right? You sound very excited about this house that you just called me about. Are you interested in going to see it? Questions build those conversations. And then the questions turned into relationships, which is our goal at the end of the day, right? When you get that first cold call, I just want a price. Not a problem. I can absolutely give you a price. Hang on just a minute. I'm logging into my system. Hey, how's your day going? Have you ever done those before? You're already logged into your system. You're probably already at North Star, right? But just start the conversation. Hey, how's your day going? Well, it's going good. I'm looking at this property. That's great. Hey, how did you find this property? My system's really slow today. I'm so sorry. How did you find this property? Oh, well, I was looking on Zillow the other day, or my neighbor told me, that this one was going up on the market. I was like, oh, good. Do you live in that area? I'm not telling him anything about me, anything about my services whatsoever. I'm just starting conversation, right? And those conversations, those questions break down those walls and allow you to have deeper conversations and a connection with the people that you're talking to. So when you're talking to cold calls in particular, asking questions and not selling yourself is the best way to do that. There will come a time in that conversation where you do sell yourself and your services. That's what we're in the business for, right? But at the beginning, ask questions and then shut up. Mhm. How many of you have trouble when you get those cold calls?
Well, they want to know price, and when I hear the price, instead of giving them the price, yeah, they say, "Well, that's too high for me," and then you lose them. I don't know where to stop from there. Is there something else that
Yeah.
where else would you like something else you'd like to look at in a different price range? But then you're getting information about
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
I love the ones, what's your percentage? And they get all rough and gruff. I just want to know your percentage. That's it. Okay, sir.
Yep.
Like,
It's negotiable.
I
Yeah.
say that all the time. I'm like, why don't we sit down and start, like, are you selling something? Let's talk about, like, oh my gosh, I've had that a time or two. So that's always fun.
Uh-huh.
So when I
Absolutely.
get those, when somebody gets those, instead of trying to be defensive or even go for the next level thing, I've always and frankly, it's just like I just don't care, right? If you're gonna call and be a meanie head about it, then be a meanie head. But basically, if somebody calls and they're like, "Well, what's your percentage?" Well, I say my fee range is up to 4%. Is that within the realm of what you feel is reasonable? Well, I don't know. Okay. Well, I don't know what you have. So either it is or it isn't, and we can continue the conversation or we don't. We don't. It doesn't matter to me, sir. I just want you to know my family's going to eat regardless of this conversation tonight. So if you want a professional, my fees are up to 4. I'd be happy to talk to you about that in further detail if you'd like. Otherwise, we can just end the call now and you can look for the cheapest, most inexpensive option for you. Which would you like?
Up to 4. Okay.
Well, right, because my menu of services goes up to 4% on the list side, right? And on the buy side, it's traditionally it's a flat 3%, right? But it's an option where it gives people the space and the freedom to, be inside of that. And so if they're just looking for the number, I just give them my number.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, my fees are negotiable. To Ken's point, right? Might not be a bad phrase to add on that. My fees are negotiable. Maybe your fee isn't negotiable, and that's okay. It's your business, but my fees are negotiable up to 4%.
And then he goes, well, come on, there's a number. I know there's a number out there. I had this conversation. This guy was just like rattling
Absolutely,
my cage.
absolutely. There's a number in there, Ashley. But what I'm going to tell you is that it all depends upon the property that you have, the price point of the property, and the marketing services you want me to do on behalf of you.
Yeah.
So it's up to 4. If you want more detail, I'd be happy to talk about it.
Yeah.
And if they're asking about their own property to list, well, then it's like, I really haven't seen your property yet. It's hard to say what we can do for you, depending on the condition and where your location is and everything else. But how to get in the door? That's the next step. Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Take
My
it.
answer was always funnier, right? I would lean towards the funny. We're like, well, unfortunately, I'm going to give you a lawyer answer right now, even though I'm not a lawyer. It depends. What do you have? I would lean into those questions again, right?
Yeah.
What are you looking to do? What services are you looking for me to provide? It
Mhm.
depends. It depends. And then maybe you can get to a number at some point, Ashley, right? Because you can go through the questions. What are you actually looking for? I haven't
Right.
seen your property, to Ken's point. I haven't seen your property. So I can't, if you have a $2 million property, I can't tell you what my fee's going to be because I might assume that you have a $200,000 property. It's going to be different.
It's just always, the fun question.
It's fun. Just have fun with it.
Oh,
Confused
Huh?
people won't make confused people won't they can't make a decision or they won't make a decision. So help get through the confusion of what they're looking for. Can you narrow in what services do you need? What I don't know.
Yeah.
I know I can tell when somebody's confused, I think. And I say, well, I like to teach. If you want to ask me some questions, I'll try to give you some answers and see where we go from there because I like to teach. And yeah.
And that's one of the magic words, right? Would it help if? Would it help if I was able to explain or answer your questions? Would it help if I was able to explain the home inspection process?
Yeah.
Would it
Yeah.
help if, right? You're offering your help. Those are magic words. And you'll see people change in their demeanor towards you when you offer help. I mean, that's one of our tenets for our company, right? You give before you take. Offer your help, offer your knowledge before you make the ask. Hmm. Now, these are some phrases that you can use. Out of these, have any of you used these before? I'll go through them real quick. How about that? We'll do that first. I'm not sure if it's for you, Ashley, but I just saw this property come up on Gilmore Lake, and I was wondering if you might be interested in it. You use those
I
one?
would be.
You
You
Brandon
told
would
me,
be.
Katie.
Sorry. Well, Ashley, you might not be interested, but do you know someone who is?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? Can you think of anybody who might want this property? Or another one. What makes you say that? Well, I just don't trust any realtors. I used to knock on FISBO's doors, right? That was my jam, is I would go and talk to FISBOs. And so, and most all of them hate real estate agents. That's why they're for sale by owners, right? And so my next question would be, well, what makes you say that? Well, you don't know who I am. I mean, we seem to have a pretty good conversation so far. Do you think I'm that way? What makes you say that? Ask the question and shut up. Let them talk. And it usually puts them on their heels. They're like, well, I had one bad experience one time. Well, I just don't want to be taken advantage of. And I'm afraid that someone's going to take advantage of me. Well, I really can't pay a realtor's commission because I owe so much on my house, right? Ask for those clarifications. Don't assume. Don't assume. Here's a good one that I used all the time. And sometimes I felt that this was manipulative a little bit. But how would you feel if, Mr. Meyer, you want to wait and not put an offer in on this property, but we know there are multiple offers. How would you feel if someone else got this property? And when I first started asking this question, I absolutely felt that it was manipulative. I was like, I'm manipulating these people to do something that they might not want to do. And I felt super uncomfortable with that. However, what I found was when I actually asked this question, people gave me true answers. It wasn't the answer I wanted to hear, it was the actual answer. And it would be, well, it would be okay if someone, I really love this property. It is perfect. It's right next to my in-laws, whatever. But it would be okay if somebody else got it. I would feel a little sad, but there's another property out there. Well, now I know where their head's at, right? Now I know what I can do for them later. For a seller not wanting to do a price change, how would you feel if I have this conversation again with you in 3 months about your price being too high and your property still hasn't sold? How would you feel at that point? Puts it into perspective, into future, not into the now, into the future, right? Is that my end goal? As a seller, is that my end goal to not have my property sell in 3 months? Or should I maybe hear something that this realtor is trying to tell me? The just imagine one. Just imagine yourself fishing off this dock. hmm I actually, I actually said that to one of my buyers at one time. Sidebar. And he went to his truck and he pulled out a fishing pole and he did go fishing off the dock.
I love
Um,
it.
Here's another one that's helpful. Most people, when they're in that indecision that Ken was talking about, where they don't know what to do, where to go, most people most people get a home inspection with their offer if there are not multiple offers on the table. Most people have their house on the market for about 3 months. Most people do this. Most people do that. And what it does, even though some of us want to be the unique unicorn out there and we don't want to be most people, it relieves our fears that we're not making the wrong decision because most people have done this thing and it's worked out for them. Okay. Most people call our office and ask for a price and don't end up buying the property that they call about. Would you be interested in me setting you up on an automatic email so we can find the right property for you?
Hey, side note on that, the automatic email, I would encourage you guys to change your language on that. While, and the reason I would say that, and this isn't to pick on Katie because I've used that phrase too, but I'm changing it because while the system automates it, it's still your knowledge that's empowered the system to send the data, right? And so what I say is, hey, what I'd like to do is just offer to send you, notifications and ideas on listings that maybe fit what you're looking for. No obligation, no nothing, right? Just trying to get you some more information. Do you think that would be beneficial to you in your search?
Mhm.
That's it, right? I don't use the word automated because it takes away the value that we bring to it, right? And while yes, it is because of our systems and tools that we provide, right, for your business to make it so that you can make those touch points without actually doing them, right? Part of that value proposition in our partnership is so that you can do that, so you can do other things, knowing and trusting that the systems actually send those things on your behalf. So it's the automated, our system just sends it to you. It's like, yeah, that's fine, but really utilize the value that you bring to that, and asking if there's value in sending them some ideas of new listings that maybe hit the market, and then they can decide whether or not it would be beneficial or not to take the next step on that. But I always end it with, would that be meaningful or helpful to you in your home search? Because they're doing it already, and so it's just another way to get in there. So sorry, quick ad.
Yeah, no, this is all about words, right? Words matter. And so you're right. So I always had an issue with automatic email because I felt it cheapened my services, right? But how I changed that was my automatic email is different than Zillow or Realtor.com because it's directly on the MLS. And so you will get notified before it goes to those other places because that is how the system works, right? Goes into
Mhm.
Matrix. Matrix then sends out the automatic emails, and then it goes to all the other websites. And then they have to send out, right? So it's taking all those steps out of there. So different idea about giving value, but you're right in the fact that you can just stop that conversation by saying, I'll send them to you. Because it comes from your email, right?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Katie, I lean on like letting them know, you can put hearts on things. That's an indication that, you might be asking for a showing. I also lean on that they can talk to me right on there. They can send me a question. Um, it's a communication tool. Maybe they're looking at night and they don't want to text, or something, but they can at least ask the question right on there and it comes to me. So it's a communication tool.
Absolutely. And so that's a great way to spin it as well. And spin has a negative connotation, but y'all know what I mean. Is that it is a direct communication tool. And then they don't have to worry about accidentally putting in a contact me form on Zillow and getting 18 different phone calls from 18 different agents when they're already working with one. Hmm. Yeah. Here's another one. What happens next? So we've done a great showing, right? We've gotten the buyer. We've done a wonderful showing. They love the property. I can tell they love the property, but they have no idea what needs to happen next. My job as the real estate agent is to say, okay, what happens next is you need to make a decision on whether or not you're ready to put in an offer. If you are ready to make a decision, you and I talk about what all those pieces are within the offer, and I'll walk you through what those options are for you. And then I'll send it to you for signatures. And then once I get those back from you, I will submit it to the listing agent. That's what happens next. Are you ready for that? And you shut up. You let them answer. The buyer calling about a price, just want a price, right? Let's say you got him right set up for not automatic emails, but specific emails just to him, right? Property emails. What happens next, Mr. Buyer, is that you're going to get these emails. You can contact me right through the system for any properties that you want to see. If you want to change your criteria, please let me know. I'll give you a call at the end of the week to make sure that you've gotten my emails. That's what happens next. Uncertainty leads to indecision. So if you don't lead them into what happens next, if you don't explain it, and here's the deal, because we deal with so many clients and all of them or most of them are in the same lack of knowledge area, we end up having the same conversation with every single person. sometimes I would have to ask my clients, have I told you this before? Have I explained home inspections before? Because I literally don't remember because I've had the same conversation with 8 other of my buyers over the last week. Ask for clarification, ask those questions. Have any of you guys used these ones? Yeah, a
A
couple of
few,
them.
but I'm gonna use more.
Oh, good. I like that. It's all about changing your words. Change your words to change your world. Here's some other options, right? And I'm not crazy about this one. So maybe Brandon can jump in because he might be better about it. But be open-minded. Would you be open-minded enough to allow me to come look at your house to give you a price so that we can talk about what my commission fee is?
Okay.
Right? So everyone wants to be open-minded. This is the psychology behind it. Go ahead.
So
Thank
instead of
you.
even asking a question, here's what I do. And this is terrible, but it works every time because Katie's right. Everybody wants to be open-minded, right? So Ken and I are having a dialogue. He's razzing me about my commission, right? And in the middle of all of it, he's like, "Well, I don't think I should pay that much, all this other stuff, and my home is worth $1 million." Blah blah blah. Apparently, Ken, that's how you sound in my head. Sorry. However, it would be as simple as going, "Hey, Ken, do you consider yourself to be an open-minded individual?"
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like to
right.
learn.
You sound that way, right? So I think, if you're open-minded, I'm willing to give you some information to help you make a better decision. Why don't we set up a time and just to work through this together? Let me come see your place. You said you're open-minded, so why not? What do you have to lose out of it?
I guess nothing except I want to get my place cleaned up a little bit before you come. Yeah.
Right? Now we have another objection, which I appreciate, right? So you can keep moving forward through those, but that open-minded piece, everybody wants to be considered open-minded. Fun fact is not everybody is open-minded, but they want to be, right? And so you can capitalize on that because we do want to give before we take, right? So in that space, that's the really easy way. So I just point blank just ask that one question. Well, are you open-minded? Well, of course I am. Perfect. Then what do you have to lose by meeting with me? I'm willing to give you my expertise and knowledge for free. There's no reason you shouldn't take advantage of that offer. The end.
Yeah, I knew Brandon would be better at that than I was.
I don't know if it's better,
Hmm.
more direct, maybe.
I think the open-minded question does need to be direct, though,
Yeah,
for it
it's a
to work
pointed.
effectively. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a yes or no question, period. That's really what it comes down to with that specific question, and it works really well.
Hmm.
So when someone says, no, I am not open-minded, then what do you say? Just out of
You know what,
curiosity.
Ashley? I appreciate your honesty. I think that is fantastic that you know yourself well enough to be able to say that you are not open-minded. Honestly, we are not going to be a good fit working together in that space, and I wish you the very best.
I agree. I mean, I totally agree with that because, yeah, not
In the
everybody's going
years, the decades which makes me feel really old, right? In the years that I've been asking that question since I first learned about it, because yes, I believe in therapy. I first learned that question from my therapist. He goes, "Well, Brandon, are you open-minded? Because it doesn't sound like you are." And I was like, "Oh, you're dumb, but really good at your job. So, okay, yes, I do want to be open-minded." And then it totally changed. And I went, "Wait a minute, this works." Then I started to hear it in other spaces and other, podcasts and things like that and books. And I was like, actually, that's a really good question because I've never had somebody say, "No, I'm not open-minded." And
Oh,
frankly, if they really come at me like that, I'm like, "Yeah, you and I are not a fit. That's fine. I'm going to send you to Sean. You guys can work together." No. I don't know where
Hmm.
Sean went, so I just picked on him because I can't see his face. Sean is pretty open-minded, just for the record. So
Um,
I'm still here.
there we go.
I'm listening.
yeah, I mean the open-minded question is great. If you get a no, please let us know how that works out. Um, but being open-minded, it puts the ball back in their court, right? They're like, "Oh yeah, I am open-minded, right? I am on a higher intellectual level. You're right, I am. Therefore, I'm less scared of having you come over to my house to talk to me because I'm not intimidated now because I am open-minded,
Mhm.
right?" When would be a good time? Hey, Brandon, when would be a good time for us to meet today?
And that's a funny thing because I don't use this line.
Nope.
I don't use this line because in my experience, when you say, "Hey, when would be a good time?" Oh, well, I got kids going to this and that. I
Mhm.
just don't think today's going to work out. Cool.
That's great. How about tomorrow at 11 o'clock or Thursday at noon? Does either one of those
There.
work for you?
That's
Two
the
options.
question. Yep. That's the one
Yep.
that I prefer
Yeah.
inside of that space. Katie's softer than I am, which is why it's why you all like her more than you like me, and that's totally fine. But I'm going
True.
for you get option. This is the first option. This is the second option. Which one
Hmm.
you want?
Hmm. So, and I always do the soft question first. When would be a good time? Because I got a lot of pushback. I got, no, neither of those times work. I'll call you on Monday next week and we'll set up something. That's what I got. But if I asked what their schedule was, which is what that question is, when would be a good time? And I hear their schedule, and now I can give them two different options of when might work for their schedule. They tell me today doesn't work. Great. We'll look at the rest of the week. Here's when I have available. And I got better responses by asking the open-ended question and then following up with the close-ended question. Hmm. If I can, will you? If I can find out information about this septic system, would you be willing to put in an offer at that point? If I can find a person to mow the lawn for you, even though you want, a condo where the lawn's taken care of, if I can find a person to mow the lawn for you that's reasonably priced, would you be willing to buy this house? This goes back to that help piece that Ken was talking about earlier, right? How can I help? If I can take this problem off your plate, will you move forward and make a decision? How many times have we done that? If I can come over and help you stage your home, would you list your property sooner? If I can find you a rental property so you can move out of this home, would you list your property sooner? If I can, because you're offering help, right? Getting rid of the objection. If I can is one of my favorites, but I'm a helpy McHelferson, so that falls right into what I do. How about this one? Before you make up your mind, Mr. Seller, what about my presentation did you like? What about my services did you like? Before you make up your mind, Mr. Buyer, how does this house fit all of your wants and needs that you've told me? How about just out of curiosity? So this goes back to asking those questions, right? Why do you say that? Just out of curiosity, if I were able to find you a house that you really wanted, would you be able to buy that soon? Goes back to Sean's question about pre-approved, right? You can softly get in there because some people don't like to be asked about their finances the first time that they call the office. Just out of curiosity, would you be interested in me sending you emails about the market? Not specific properties, but just about the market in general, so you can have a good idea of what's happening in the Park Rapids market right now. This one also feeds into the open-minded piece that everybody wants to be open-minded, just out of curiosity, right? Are you interested? As we've been talking, what other words do you guys use? Do you think of any off the top of your head? Are there any ones here that you really like?
I need to ask more questions. This was good.
Okay, good. Yeah. Do you feel like when you say that, do you feel like you explain more than you ask questions? Or you
Right.
assume more than you ask questions?
No, I explain.
Okay.
I have a big heart for like a first time home buyer, so I'm there to explain,
Hmm.
but I want to get to know them more as people. I love sitting down with them, so that's the time to ask those. But if you don't have that opportunity, then you're
Hmm.
limited on that time. But yeah, I love to get to know people, so I'm going to
Yeah.
start asking more questions
Good. Good.
and be quiet.
Right? And then the next piece is shut up. Let them answer.
I'm going to pinch my legs so I know. That's my
Yeah.
indication.
So I used to tap in my palm. I used to tap 5 seconds in my palm. Just, yep.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Gotta do that's exactly. Because it took me a long time to be okay with the silence. Because when
Mhm.
you ask a question, especially when you're just starting a relationship, the silence will elicit the answer if you shut up long enough. It will come out if you shut up long enough. But that silence can be very scary. I think Brandon just put a post about silence on Facebook not long ago, didn't you? About just sitting in the silence.
I hate it, but sometimes you got to do it.
Silence is golden.
Uh-huh.
I went to this sales training one time and they gave us these big plastic ears to put on our over our ears long time ago. And because when you're younger, you think differently about sales, you think it's more what you say and your hustle and uh, your energy. But as you get into it longer, you realize that the more you listen, the easier it gets. And when you ask a question and just stop, whether you're on the phone or in person, it might take 4, 5, 6 seconds. It seems like way longer. And then all of a sudden they start talking again.
Hmm.
I mean, you almost have, it's like tennis. You got to put the ball back in their court and wait for the return volley. And then you just move on from there.
Hmm. Yeah. It's not always about having the exact right words. It's about listening to what words you need to use.
Well, a lot of times we don't have every answer they're looking for. And it's okay
Yeah.
to say that. I'll look into that and get
Absolutely.
back to you, and opens another door for a follow-up conversation.
Yep.
Because we have to do research certain markets. You get a call from someone like between Park Rapids and Bemidji.
Hmm.
Well, you don't know every market. I mean, you kind of do, depends how long you've been there, but you got to do a lot of research before you can really truly answer those questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Cotton Lake over by Detroit Lakes. I know of Cotton.
Cotton Lake,
That's
a lot of
about
cotton
it,
over there, a lot of
right?
cotton t-shirts.
And so not always having the answers to the questions is a good
Okay.
thing. It does provide another time to follow up. It gives you more credence with people, right? Now, if you have to answer every question that they ask with, I don't know, I'll find out.
Hmm.
That's not great. Not
No.
every question. But there are legitimate questions where I don't know, I'll find out. And what happens next is I'm going to go do this and I'm going to find this. I'll call you at this time. Hmm. Here's the biggest thing. All of these words are great, and you guys coming here and listening and interacting with us are great, but they won't do anything for you if you don't use them. I know you've all heard me talk about my windshield time before, and kudos to Ashley for using windshield time. Good job.
Did it work?
Uh,
I don't
th-
know.
you don't know yet? Okay, it
Hopefully.
will. But when we talk about prepare scripts, right? I mean, everyone's seen all of the scripts, all of the words on the page, and you have to read this whole Word document, whatever. That's fine. That gives you a basis on how to say things, right? That's fine. But you have to prepare the scripts in your head. You are on stage. as a real estate agent. And so if you do not practice what you say to people, you're not going to be good at it. So I use my windshield time. Okay, if they say this to me, what am I going to say? And it's not like I'm talking in my car, right? This is all internal. But if they fight me on the price, how am I going to combat that? Right? I don't really know why they need to sell. I need to ask that question when I get there. How am I going to ask that where they don't feel attacked? How am I going to offer my services? Prepare those scripts in your head. And it can even be, even when you're not going on an appointment, brand new agents, right? If a buyer called me right now and asked about a property, what would I do? What questions would I ask? What questions do I need to know? Or what answers do I need to know? I mean,
As
you
weird as
have,
this, oh,
yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. I
Yeah,
thought
no,
you were done.
go-
As weird as it sounds, when I first started in 21, we did some role play
mhm.
to work on language. So if you have a trusted realtor friend, lean on them a little bit, ask them to role play with you, put you in that weird situation. So yeah, there you go. Brandon's offering his services.
Yep, you can call
I
me.
don't
I
know if I
love
want
role.
to go against Brandon though, so
No, I love role playing. You kidding me? It's the best.
I'm not ready for that
Um,
after 4 years.
In the context of real estate transactions. Nelson, I see you.
uh,
Oh,
Floor
yeah,
Megan
time.
got that one now. Okay, yep, she
uh-huh,
got it.
there we go. She got it.
She was
She got
late.
there.
Actually,
Um,
floor time is good for agents just to, that's the perfect place to practice. If you got nothing going on, go sit on floor time, answer the phone, and you're going to get into all kinds of conversations with all kinds of different people. And you really can learn your market and surrounding areas just by hanging out on floor time. You might have a day you get 0 calls, but the next day you might get 5. And, you'll pick up a client or two, obviously, but that's a great way to hone your skills on floor time.
gotta practice. You gotta practice. Yep. And then when you practice, when you actually use them, like in floor time that you're talking about,
Hmm.
you need to be retrospective, introspective, retro. Anyway, you need to get perspective on the conversation. You need to think about what worked in that conversation and what didn't, and why. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you. You didn't say the wrong thing. That buyer is just not for you,
Hmm.
right? You don't mesh. That's okay. But maybe it is something that you said. Maybe you said it in maybe you said it too aggressively. Well, don't you think that real estate agents are good for you when I'm fighting for your best interest? Like as a client for me, I'm like, meh, I don't want anything to do with you now. Have a nice day. Well, don't you think? Right? So be introspective. So not only practice, figure out what you're going to say, practice what you're going to say, but then review what you did say when you do have those conversations. And like Sean said, contact your managers, right? Or your trusted real estate friend and practice. Hey, I had this conversation with this client. This is how the conversation went. I'm not quite sure what I said wrong, but now they won't answer my phone calls. Cool. Let's figure it out. My favorite trick with those ones is then I call them from the office phone. hmm Here's the biggest thing with all of these things is the right words build relationships and results at the end of the day. And our goal is not to manipulate people into doing what we want them to do. Our goal is to find the right words to lead them to their decisions that they were going to make anyway. We are just streamlining the process. However, with great power comes great responsibility. None of you should be manipulating your clients, which I don't think any of you do. But all of these words, all of these mental games that we end up playing can be used wrongly. How many times have we heard from clients that they felt taken advantage of by the conversations that they had with other real estate agents. That's not our goal here when we talk about conversations to conversions. That's not our goal at all. Our goal is to help lead them to where they want to be. We are a guide on this journey. We are not setting the destination for them. If anybody wants to read anything, 'cause I like podcasts and I like reading, and this is what I do. These are some different options for how to talk to people, right? Exactly what to say is a very good one that a lot of the stuff that we had talked about today, at a girl, comes from exactly what to say. It is a really great book. It is a really easy read. All my Park Rapids people, it'll be up front if you want it. Yeah. One of a really old one. I think it's from the 90s. How to Win Friends and Influence People is a great one. If you haven't read it, please put it on your reading list for the winter. It is very good.
Definitely should be on your reading list, by the way.
Yeah. Ninja Selling by Larry Kendall.
Also should be on your reading list.
It's a very good one. It's all about trust-based service first. And that's how he sets up all of his conversations in there, right? About listening authentically. So that one's very good. The Sell with Soul. This one really helped me because I had a real problem with feeling like I was manipulating people as I was using these different words and going to these different classes on how to talk to people in real estate and whatever. Sell with Soul is all about communication strategies that we talked about, but with ethical guidance, right? With great power comes great responsibility, that kind of stuff. That's what Sell with Soul is all about. Anybody have anything else that they wanted to talk about? Otherwise, that's the end of my day. Not really. I have a lot to do today, but the end of this part of my day.
This was good. Thank you. It makes you think.
Hmm.
Gets me out of my
Good.
comfort zone, but that's how you grow. So yeah,
Hmm.
I'm going to
Yeah.
report back when I pause for 5 seconds on how my leg feels after that pinch.
Hey, I love it. Yes. Just send me a message. Good habit. Good. Right. Does anybody have any questions, like a specific scenario that they want help with quick? We have about 4 minutes left. Thanks, Chris. Okay. Well, here's the deal. If you do come up with anything, don't hesitate to call. We're all here to help. Otherwise, I'll see you at the mastermind next week.
Thank you.
See you later.